You can come to Australia thinking, I speak English. How hard can it be? And then before you know it, you've misunderstood the banter, eaten dinner too late, said the wrong thing about Aussie slang, or done something that makes everyone around you realize you are definitely not from here. Don't worry, most of these mistakes won't ruin your life, but they can make you stand out faster than wearing socks with thongs at the beach. So in this video, we're going through 7 Australian rules you'll break without even realizing. These are not every rule in Australia, not even close, but they are the kind of little things tourists and new arrivals often don't know until someone gives them the look. If you want more simple, real, and slightly cheeky tips about living in Australia, visiting Australia, and understanding what life is really like here, make sure you subscribe, because we've got a lot more Australia videos coming. Number 1. Don't jump into Aussie banter before you understand it. Australia can be a very friendly place, but one thing that can catch people out is the banter. Aussies can tease each other, joke around, use sarcasm, throw in slang, and sometimes say things that sound a bit harsh if you are not used to it. But a lot of the time, between friends, it is not meant badly. It is just part of the way people talk. The problem is when someone new hears that and thinks, right, I'll do that too. And suddenly they're making jokes about Kiwis, copying the accent, throwing around Aussie slang, or swearing like they're auditioning for a bad movie about Australia. That is where it can get awkward, because banter depends on the relationship. If 2 Aussies are teasing each other, or an Aussie and a Kiwi are joking around, there is usually history behind it. They know where the line is. But if you have just arrived and you jump straight in with the same jokes, it can sound rude, fake, or like you are trying way too hard. It is a bit like walking into someone else's family barbecue and immediately roasting the uncle you met 5 minutes ago. Technically, everyone else might be doing it, but you probably need to earn your seat at the table first. So if you are new to Australia, the rule is simple. Listen first. You can laugh along. You can ask what things mean. You can enjoy the humour. But don't feel like you have to act Australian on day one. Most Aussies don't need you to sound Australian. They just want you to be real. And honestly, being yourself will usually get you further than trying to sound like you learned Australia from a movie, a beer ad, and 1 episode of Home and Away. Number 2. Don't forget basic service manners. This one sounds simple, but it can still catch people out, especially if you come from somewhere where everyone keeps to themselves a bit more. In Australia, it is pretty normal to say thanks to people who are doing a service for you. Not in a big dramatic way. You don't need to give a speech, shake their hand, and nominate them for Australian of the Year. Just a quick thanks, cheers. A nod or a little wave can go a long way. You might hear people thank the bus driver when they get off. You might see someone say thanks to the cashier, the cafe worker, the ferry staff, the person who lets them cross, or someone who holds a door open. And no, every single Australian does not do this perfectly every time. We're not all floating around like polite little angels with sunscreen on. But basic manners do matter here. What can feel strange to visitors is that Australia can be casual and relaxed, but people still notice if you treat service staff badly. Snobbery does not usually go down well. Acting like someone is beneath you because they are serving you is a very fast way to make people dislike you. So the rule is not that you have to become the loudest, friendliest person in the room. It is more this. Be casual, but be respectful. A quick thanks, a smile, or a nod might seem small, but in Australia, it can say a lot about the kind of person you are. Number 3. Don't act like Australia is just the stereotype. A lot of people arrive in Australia with a version of the country already in their head. They picture kangaroos hopping down every street, everyone swearing every second word, people saying "g'day mate" to every stranger, and the whole country acting like one giant beach barbecue. And look, there may be beaches, there may be barbecues, there may even be someone saying "g'day" if you are lucky. But Australia is not one big cartoon of itself. The country is huge, and people are different depending on where you are. Sydney is not the same as Adelaide. Melbourne is not the same as Darwin. Brisbane is not the same as Hobart. A country town is not the same as the middle of Perth. Some Aussies swear a lot. Some barely swear at all. Some love small talk. Some want peace and quiet. Some are very laid back. Some are more formal than you expect. So one rule you can break without realizing is treating every Australian like they are the same person. You might think you are being funny by leaning into all the stereotypes, but if you overdo it, it can come across like you have learned Australia from a movie, a meme, and a packet of Tim Tams. The better way is to stay curious. Ask questions. Notice the differences. Let people show you what Australia is actually like, instead of assuming you already know, because the real Australia is much more interesting than the stereotype. Coming up, we've still got some very Australian mistakes to cover. including one that seems harmless until an Aussie sees you do it, and another that can leave you hungry at the worst possible time. And if Australia is on your list, whether for a holiday or a fresh start, click the like button. Number 4. Don't litter, even if you think nobody is watching. This one might sound obvious, but it still needs to be said. In Australia, littering is one of those things that can really annoy people. Dropping rubbish on the ground, leaving takeaway bags behind, throwing things out of a car window, or leaving bottles and wrappers at a beach or park is not something people just shrug off. And yes, some Australians do it too. We're not pretending every Aussie is walking around like a perfect little bin ambassador, but it is still frowned upon. Australia has beautiful beaches, parks, walking trails, wildlife, and outdoor spaces, and people get protective of them. So if someone sees you leaving rubbish behind, they may not say anything, but trust me, they are probably judging you in full Australian silence. And depending on where you are, littering can also come with fines. So the rule is simple. If you bring it with you, take it with you, or put it in a bin. That includes cigarette butts, food wrappers, plastic bottles, coffee cups, and all the little things people think don't matter. Because in Australia, leaving rubbish behind is one of the quickest ways to go from welcome tourist to, oh no, not this person. Number 5. Don't touch, feed, or take things from nature. Australia has some amazing wildlife and beautiful natural places. But one rule people can break without realizing is treating nature like it is there for them to touch, feed, pick, or take home. You might see a cute wallaby, a bird, a lizard, or some other animal and think, I'll just give it a little bit of food. Please don't. Feeding wildlife can make animals sick, change their behavior, make them aggressive, or make them rely on people instead of finding their own food. And if you're feeding a wild animal bread, chips, biscuits, or whatever you had left in your bag, that is not a snack for them. That is basically a bad decision with crumbs. The same goes for touching animals, picking plants, taking shells from protected areas, walking off marked tracks, or grabbing flowers because they look pretty. Some places in Australia are protected for a reason. And sometimes the thing that looks harmless is not harmless at all. Australia has plants that sting, animals that bite, and beaches that look calm but aren't. So the safest rule is this. Look, enjoy, take photos, but don't interfere. Because in Australia, the best souvenir is usually a photo, not a fine, a bite mark, or a story about how you tried to make friends with something that absolutely did not want to be friends. Number 6. Don't assume everything is open late. This is one that can really catch people out, especially if you come from a place where you can find proper food late at night. In some parts of Australia, especially in certain cities, smaller towns, suburbs, and quieter areas, kitchens can close earlier than you expect. You might think, it's only 9 o'clock, we'll just go out for dinner. And then Australia says, that's cute, here's a petrol station sandwich. Now, of course, this depends where you are. Melbourne, Sydney, busy nightlife areas, casinos, some fast food places, and certain suburbs may have late options. But you cannot assume that everywhere in Australia works that way. In places like Brisbane, Perth, Adelaide suburbs, country towns, and quieter areas, you may find that restaurants stop taking orders earlier than you expected. Even takeaway places can close before your stomach has finished making decisions. This is especially important if you are traveling, arriving late, doing a road trip, or staying somewhere outside the city centre. So the rule is simple. Plan your food earlier than you think you need to. Check opening hours. Don't assume the kitchen is still open just because the restaurant looks open. And if you are traveling through smaller places, don't wait until you are starving to work out where dinner is coming from. Because in Australia, you might have sunshine, beaches, wildlife, and beautiful scenery. But at 10 p.m. in the wrong suburb, your fine dining options might suddenly be chips, chocolate, and regret. Number 7. Don't believe laid-back Australia means anything goes. Australia has a very relaxed image. People picture beaches, barbecues, bare feet, friendly people, casual clothes, and someone saying no worries while holding a coffee in one hand and a surfboard in the other. And yes, Australia can be relaxed in a lot of ways. But this is where people get caught out. Laid back does not mean lawless. Australia can actually be very strict when it comes to rules, signs, safety, fines, and public behaviour. If a sign says don't swim there, don't assume it is just a suggestion. If a park says no alcohol, don't assume nobody cares. If a road sign says 60, don't treat it like a rough idea. If a beach has flags, signs, warnings, or closed areas, they are there for a reason. And if you are visiting or new here, some of the rules might feel small until they suddenly cost you money, embarrass you, or put you in danger. That is the funny thing about Australia. It can feel casual on the outside, but underneath that casual feeling, there are plenty of rules people take seriously. So enjoy the relaxed lifestyle. Enjoy the beaches, the parks, the cafes, the road trips, and the no worries attitude. Just don't turn no worries into no rules. Because in Australia, you can absolutely have a good time. But it helps if you read the signs, respect the place, and don't make the mistake of thinking relaxed means anything goes.